But the first one is, can Daniel Jones crack the top 10? Can Daniel Jones be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? I don't know. Why don't you guys in the comment section let us know. What do you think? Can Daniel Jones be a top 10 quarterback? Do you think it's possible for him? Can he raise to that height? Or is he forever going to be just the $40 million man in New York, the replacement Eli? But B, I'll let you, I know you've got a lot of numbers on this. I'll let you start off and tell us what you think.
Yeah, so let me open up Daniel Jones' numbers here because my printer was not working. All right. So before 2022, his numbers were pretty like underwhelming. Mostly something that jumps off the screen here, guys, is he had a tough time staying healthy up until this season. This past season, 2022, he played 16 games, which is good, 16 out of 17. His rookie season, he played 13. 2020, he played 14, which is not so bad. They were still playing 16 games there. In 2021, he played 11 games, right? So looking at it from a numbers perspective, right? If you're missing games, the chances of you cracking the top 10 is automatically harder because you have to, produce more per game if you miss more games, right? But Emmett, take a look here. In 2022, let me slide on over here. He had 3,300 total yards. Out of those yards, he passed for, he had 3,900 yards, or 3,900 yards in 2022. He threw for 32,000, ran for 708, and had 22 total touchdowns, right? So I was thinking, okay, if the Giants offense can level up this year, right? He gets a few more yards here and there. Can he crack the top 10? And my answer is maybe. Looking at Lamar Jackson, now this is bear with me here, folks. Bear with me here. Okay, it's gonna be a very weird turn. I'm going from Daniel Jones to Lamar Jackson, but stay with me. If we use Lamar Jackson's 2019 MVP season as like the benchmark for like a good dual threat / running quarterback season, can he crack the top 10? And Lamar Jackson, in 2019, he had 4,333 total yards and 43 total touchdowns, right? Daniel Jones has had 3,900 yards last season total. So let's say he gets up to the 4,100 mark, right? He ups his touchdowns from what I say in the 20s to mid 30s at most. Should he be up there in the top 10? I mean, he's very close to the 2019 numbers that Lamar Jackson had back when he won MVP. And I feel like the answer is yes. I mean, like, you would have to at least put him close to it, right? You can't be like, oh, he's only 6'16". It's like he's a few hundred yards off of Lamar Jackson's MVP season.
Yeah, but
so
I mean, with Lamar's MVP season, it needed to come with some very good splash highlight plays, which Lamar did that year. I don't want to say he wanted more off of those than the actual stats, but he took the league over that year, and just double his passing touchdowns. I think we're projecting a little too much here. I don't mean to trample over here.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm all for it. I'm trying to speak for Daniel Jones here, give him a little bit of props. People have been laughing at him. He ran for that 70-yard play and he fell down. But I do feel like Daniel Jones is a more solid quarterback than people give him credit for. Now, granted, take that with a grain of salt because first 3 seasons were pretty iffy. I'll be honest. But you saw what happened when Brian Daboll entered New York. He was able to get the most out of Daniel Jones. And finally, like I said this in the very beginning of the segment, Daniel Jones stayed healthy last season. Like, he wasn't playing 11, 13, 14 games. He played almost the entire season. So, yeah, I mean, like, if he can get close, if he can, get over 4,000 total yards and get his touchdowns up and maybe do a couple of splash plays where you're saying, maybe we gotta stop laughing at him. Maybe maybe we
Well,
gotta stop cracking that many jokes.
yeah, I think objectively, and New York quarterbacks do give us the funniest moments in NFL history, though. The trip and then the butt fumble. New York quarterbacks, I'm
The
sorry, they
butt
do give
fumble,
us hilarious
classic.
moments. All right, let me take it from this angle. So, under the first year in Brian Dable, I don't want to focus on the other stuff. I don't want to focus on, his rookie year, second year, whatever. I just want to take it from the coach, the offensive guru he has now, right? On the first year with Brian Dable, he had his highest passer rating of his career, highest QBR of his career, the highest touchdown interception ratio of his career, 3-1, and he had the highest completion percentage of his career. Now that completion percentage actually had him finishing sixth in the league in completion percentage. He finished seventh in QBR in the league. He has better weapons around him this year. So last year compared to this year, the weapons are better. He has Jalen Hyatt, the rookie from Tennessee, speedster, should be able to take the top off, make that offense more vertical, something he didn't have last year. He also has Darren Waller, acquired in trade with the Raiders, arguably top 5 tight end in the league. Should help give Daniel Jones more weapons. So I would hope and would expect to see some of his numbers improve. His completion percentage has also increased every year he's been in the NFL. So I think it started off at 64 or 65%, with last year hitting 68%. Those are the reasons I think, if we're projecting, if he continues on a growth pattern, he could be top 10. Could. These are my reasons for no. And this is kind of where I do stand more with it, is because of these reasons. He's never had more than 24 passing touchdowns in a season. How are you going to call a guy a top 10 quarterback when he can't even throw from 124 yards? Last year was arguably his best season. He threw for 15. You're a quarterback.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams should not be having more rushing
touchdowns a
touchdowns
big part
than
of
you
it.
have passing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
He actually has 60 passing touchdowns in 54 career games. That's 1.1 touchdown per game. Let's take a look at some of the guys that we call top 10-ish, maybe 10 through 14-ish, right? Dak Prescott has 166 touchdowns in 97 games. He's throwing almost 2 touchdowns a game. Kirk Cousins, Mr. Mustache, Mr. Joke. He has 252 passing touchdowns in 142 games. 1.77, almost 2. Daniel Jones is at 1.1. A passing touchdown a game. I mean, and then to take it further, and I'm not normally a big fan of this stat, so I will explain why I included it on here. He's averaging 6.8 yards per attempt, which is about the same as it was before Dable got there. It's been consistently 6.6 to 6.8. For comparison's sake, to another great NFC East quarterback, because I know Giants fans love the Cowboys, Dak Prescott averages 7.6. Now, I don't love that stat because it doesn't tell you the full story normally. But when we're looking over the course of someone's career, and it's been 4 or 5 years, it tells me you're not pressing deep. You're not trying to hit the mid-range game. You're not getting that 10 to 20 yard gain. You're not taking deep throws. Not to say he's never done it. Not to say you're not going to pull up 5 in his highlight tapes. But it tells me the majority of your throws are within 10 yards. That's not elite.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even mid. So I'm sorry, I'm using the traditional version of mid, like the middle, which apparently is a bad thing nowadays, but whatever. I know it's weird.
Yeah. I mean, I really want to hone in on that point about the touchdowns too. That's really is going to make or break it.
Yeah.
You can't be a dual threat quarterback. And yes, guys, he is a dual threat quarterback. He ran for 700 yards last season. I think it's fair to say he is a dual threat guy. Only putting up 20 something odd touchdowns. You got to produce more than that. And maybe it's because he has Barkley there. Maybe he's stealing a lot of touchdowns in the red zone, whatnot. But to your point too about the average yards per attempt, maybe it's also a byproduct of them not pushing the ball down the field. Where are the explosive plays at, right? Where are those long throwing touchdowns, right? So with Hyatt there, maybe that he's a really, really fast guy. He can run those posts, those fades, and get those long explosive plays there.
Yep.
But the touchdowns it's really going to hinder him if he can't get more
Yep.
like touchdowns.
And again, he also has 35 career receptions. I believe it's 35 or 34 in 54 career games. Now, again, I did not want to include that in my reasoning for no's because last year he only threw 5. It was the best of his career. It shows progress. Like I said, we talked about his completion percentage going up. So I don't want to sit here and ding him on something that is going to hopefully progressively get better. But, I mean, guys, 34 interceptions in 54 games is not good. I was trying to find some other quarterbacks. I was like, who have similar numbers? And the closest I can actually find is Jimmy Garoppolo. And based on the touchdown per game, that we're talking about here, Jimmy actually ranks probably closer to 20th. So again, what is Daniel Jones' ceiling? I don't think we're there yet. I think he's got more room to grow. I think another year in Dable's system will be great for him. The addition of Jalen Hyatt, like you said, should hopefully stretch the field, but he needs to take those shots. He needs to push it deep. If you're not, this is what you get. A touchdown a game. 1 touchdown a game. That's a bottom tier offense, guys.
Yeah.
That doesn't get it done. That doesn't get you to the top 10. If Mahomes was throwing 1 touchdown a game, he wouldn't have Super Bowl rings. It's just the facts of the matter,
Yeah.
So again, hopefully he grows, score. But I don't see him ever getting to a top 10 discussion. I think his ceiling, maybe 15, maybe. Which, again, it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's really hard to come by, top 10 quarterbacks. And let's be honest about another New York Giants quarterback's career arc. I don't think Eli Manning was ever considered top 10. He has 2 rings. So you can win with Daniel Jones. You can even win big with Daniel Jones. But the rest of the roster has to be right. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to hit that point again just because, we're not saying Daniel Jones is bad.
No.
You can win with Daniel Jones.
Yes.
They just won with Daniel Jones. They won a playoff game last year during a quote unquote rebuild or a restart. They went to the playoffs. They won a playoff game against the Vikings. That's something you can hang your hat on. You guys don't need Daniel Jones to be top 10 to win ball games. If he's from 11 to 15th ranked, better of the top half of the league of quarterbacks, you guys can win a lot of games with them. That just means you got to put some more talent around him.
Right. It means you have to pay.
So we are
Barkley. You need to pay Saquon.
Yes.
Say it with me. Pay Saquon.
Pay Saquon.
Okay. And then next year in the draft,
and get a true wide receiver 1.
Exactly. Yep. There should be. This is going to be how do I put this right way here? This upcoming draft is going to be a special draft. There's so much talent. It feels like every position. There's historically great tight ends. There's historically great receivers. If they can move up in the draft to get one of those, if they can get, a Brock Bowers. Again, I know they have Darren Waller, but 2 tight end sets would go crazy with Saquon there.
That would be dangerous.
If you can move up and get, a Marvin Harrison Jr. or either of those Washington receivers, this offense goes crazy. So again, I don't think Daniel Jones ever gets to be a top 10, but I do think they can still win with Daniel Jones. And I think it's just a fact of the situation. Oh, I also want to address this. I know I got into a conversation with a Giants fan a few weeks ago talking about how a lot of people like to point out that Daniel Jones isn't clutch. Daniel Jones has 8 game-winning drives and fourth quarter comebacks. He's clutch enough. That's good, and he's shown he can do it. So I think we need to knock that notion off. He can't finish a game or he can't lead a team back. He can, especially with his running ability. That helps in that regard too. But he is clutch. So we want to give Daniel Jones his prop where it's due, and we want to call him out where his deficiencies are and where he needs to improve upon. But all right, let's move on to our next segment, staying in the NFC East, because apparently we are a glutton for punishment, and we want to get destroyed on Twitter this week. Don't know why. Like we mentioned in the
real stuff.
And don't do that, please. I cry every night we go to bed. So I go through handles with this because of you people. No. I'm just kidding.
It's tough out there.